This video is sponsored by Nvidia. Find out more about their DLSS 3.5 technology in just a little bit. Okay, I'm finally getting around to the video on the first Descendant. A bunch of you guys have been asking me my thoughts on the game. It's a brand new Warframe-like game that is taking the world by storm, sitting in the top 10 most played games on Steam since it came out. It's a free-to-play, third-person looter shooter built in Unreal Engine 5, and I have to say right up front, for an Unreal Engine 5 game, it actually runs really well. We'll get into that a little bit later. So you play as a Descendant equipped with unique abilities and modules to upgrade, utilizing a multitude of weapons that you can also upgrade with different modules. You can play with up to 4 people in a party, completing various PvE missions throughout the story and engaging in just insane boss fights. The game is chock full of content, from a shit ton of missions to play throughout a story that I could only describe as terrible drivel. Seriously, holy shit. Just like another game taking the world by storm called Once Human, I would personally recommend, if you're playing either one of these games, just skipping anything to do with cutscenes and dialogue and just get straight to the gameplay, which is where I think both of these games shine. I've been spending my time playing the first Descendant, upgrading, crafting, and trying to unlock different Descendants, and for the most part, it's a pretty in-depth game with an accessible early game to kind of ease you into that grind. As somebody who doesn't play games like this too often, I'm actually having a pretty good time if my focus is on the gameplay itself, which basically boils down to, like, grab a mission, go kill things while a simple objective is taking place, like, you know, standing in a circle or having to, you know, kill waves of enemies until one of them drops something, and then you gotta grab that item, run it over to a generator or a robot, power that up. It's very simple gameplay. And then basically you do the objective, you kill a bunch of things, and then you move on to the next mission, which is essentially the same thing. The starting 3 hours of the game is pretty mind-numbing. Enemies are bullet sponges. They really don't pose a threat at all until they do. But the game services its goals well and gives you a ton of things to work towards and craft and basically unlock, you know, up front. This is one of those games where you want to shut off your brain for a while, kill mindless enemies, grind, unlock things, craft things, and just keep leveling. Like, it has that Warframe-like experience, and it does it well enough. Looking around the internet and at Steam reviews, though, you'd think this game killed some people's pets on first startup. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I want to start with talking about the art style and the graphic quality here. So, like I said at the beginning of the video, the game does run really, really well. For an Unreal Engine 5 game, this is definitely one of the more optimized ones that I have been able to play. And from, like, a quality graphic level perspective, I do think this game visually looks really, really nice. And that's most likely due to the fact that I'm playing this game on an RTX 4080, which means I can take advantage of Nvidia DLSS 3.5 technology with ray reconstruction, frame generation, and super resolution. Playing at 4K max settings with all of the ray tracing effects enabled, these RTX 40 series GPUs are pushing performance to the max with an average increase of 2.7x at 4K. DLSS 3.5 with ray reconstruction and frame generation enhances ray tracing and multiplies performance using AI. And when you combine that with Nvidia Reflex to lower your system latency, I mean, you can't lose. If you're playing the first Descendant, you can enable all of these features by hitting the escape button, going to your options, and everything is right there. A big shout out to Nvidia for sponsoring this video. If you guys want to take advantage of all of this technology, just go to your options menu, check to see if you can turn all of this stuff on. If you have an RTX GPU, or if you're using an older GPU in the GTX series, you can take advantage of things like Nvidia Reflex with their low latency system architecture, and you can still have a better time. I want to shift gears back to the other half of this visual discussion. I do believe the game looks visually really, really good. It's Unreal Engine 5, it's got the lighting, it's got everything. It looks crisp, but the other half of this discussion is the art style, which I gotta say, I'm not really the biggest fan of. Obviously, this game is coming from Nexon, it's coming from South Korea, and it's definitely got that Eastern vibe combined with, like, this future, almost like, I want to call it cyberpunk, but it's more like future mech. It reminds me a lot of what you saw in Halo 4, like these crazy cyber metal structures and robots. And I'll be honest with you, I've seen it a million fucking times before. It's kind of, at this point, it's kind of just a tiresome art style. It's a tiresome setting. I feel like I've seen this before. It doesn't feel original. Combine that with the story that's going on at the same time. The whole world just seems so uninspired and almost soulless. You're running around, you're doing these missions, and while the gameplay is very, very fun, the setting that you're in, it really just leaves a lot, at least for me, to be desired. Now, with all of that said, I'm currently in the 3rd or 4th zone, completing quests that basically boil down to like world quests around the map in any MMO. The game can definitely get repetitive, which is why the focus is on building up your character from their mastery ranks to modules to weapons. The whole goal is that things are repetitive for you to build your character out and then take it into large-scale boss fights like this.
Just got out of my
Oh, she's looking at me! Oh, fuck! Oh, shit!
Don't die, don't die, don't die!
I'm trying fucking not to! Oh!
Run! Shooting her right in the pussy!
Fuck her right in the pussy!
It's working!
Whoa!
There, she's dead.
Nice.
Look at all that shit.
Woo.
Yoink, yoink, yoink.
Now, the character I chose at the beginning is Lepik, who is like this assault who throws like grenades and gravity well, kind of like sucky grenades. And he also has a pretty sick overkill that basically inflicts burning damage. His whole focus is doing damage, rolling around, being agile, and just dishing out as much damage as possible. And I like him. I was playing with Fuzzy, who was using the tanker class. I believe his name is Ajax, and he does like bubble shields and shield walls and stuff to kind of protect you and basically let you kind of deal damage from afar, and it's a pretty good combo. Now, as far as I'm aware, this is where things start to go south for a lot of players, and that's in the ability to unlock and purchase new characters from the shop, or, you know, making research requests, which is where you can unlock all of the blueprints and all of the pieces to unlock new characters, or you can just purchase them using Caliber, which is their currency that you have to purchase with real money. So how this works, being a free-to-play game, is, well, you have a shit ton of things that you can buy. Cosmetics, Descendant skins, weapon skins, color palettes. Most of that stuff can be unlocked through their premium battle pass, which costs a certain amount of Caliber. And there's also an in-game store that sells other items for Caliber as well, along with XP boosters and items to bypass certain time barriers with real-life money. The individual Descendants can be bought directly from the store using Caliber, and without this currency, you need to grind for materials to unlock each new Descendant, which, as far as I'm aware, is the exact same system that they have in Warframe. Now, whether you consider that pay to win in a PvE experience, there's no PvP in this game at all. That's kind of up to your discretion, which is why I feel like the game is sitting at a mixed review. There's other reasons in there as well that we're going to talk about, but that pay to win element of, you know, a PvE only experience, and you can choose to bypass time gates and other things by spending real money. I can definitely see why some people don't want to be involved in yet another freemium game like that, and you know, I totally understand it. What pisses me off about the entire system is all of the starting Descendants are around 300 Caliber, and you can only purchase Caliber in segments of either 250 or 500 with a 20 Caliber bonus, so 520. So you have to buy the 250, which is $6.99 Canadian. You have to buy that twice to have enough Caliber to purchase a Descendant. So while each Descendant is technically 300 Caliber, or around $8, give or take, you have to spend $14 worth of money to purchase the Caliber needed to afford one of the... It's predatory as shit. It's the same freemium model we see in a million different games, and I know that's going to be the excuse for a lot of people that excuse it away. I myself am tired of seeing monetization practices like that. It's predatory, it's scummy, which is why, like, even though I really enjoy the game, I'm never purchasing a single fucking thing from this storefront. It's on that level of, like, it could be called pay to win, but people could also make the argument that it's more of like pay to not grind as much, which I know some people would then rebuttal me like, yeah, that's basically pay to win. Why do you want to, you know, spend money to bypass the whole point of the game, which is that grind? So, you know, there's always going to be a back and forth with gamers, and that's what's leading to at least one section of these people leaving negative reviews. One of the other big complaints is, well, the fact that there's two different anti-cheats layered on top of one another in this game for a PvE only experience. It doesn't feel like it's even necessary. until you start looking into what the EULA states in their terms of service. And one of the reviews points out here, the anti-cheat steals virtually all data from you and even blatantly admits to retroactively and proactively stealing all of your browsing data as per their EULA and privacy policy agreement in Section 1. Pages that you visit before and after the use of the services is quoted in this review. All of that for a game that has just an overcomplicated end game that requires you to grind so much to unlock end game gear that it kind of just incentivizes people to pull out their wallets and buy whatever they need, and then also double dips and sells your data as a data broker. There's a lot of reasons to maybe want to avoid something like this. Their monetization model is flawed. If you're going into this game thinking you're just not going to spend any money, all the more power to you. I think you can have a good time with it, but just know it's a free-to-play game, monetized out the ass. They're going to want to incentivize you to spend real money. And here's the thing. I know there's going to be a lot of people that don't spend $1. I'm not spending a fucking dime on it. I'm going to play the game and grind the way it wants me to. And if there's time gates and everything else, then I guess that's just something you deal with until you don't want to deal with it anymore. And then we just move on to another game. That's really how that's how I'm approaching a game like this, because I'm not a big Warframe player as is. It's not that I'm like hating on that game. It's just something I've never really dived into. So I don't really feel that like emotional connection to be like super pissed off about some of this stuff. I'm just not going to partake in it. Long story short, I'm enjoying the game, at least for the gameplay itself, the addictive nature of, always upgrading your character, unlocking things, that dopamine hit for unlocking and progression in a game like this is insane. That being said, when you look into what people actually have gripes with, you can see some real like valid complaints from the community that's leading to this mixed review score. But at the end of the day, we always like to talk about healthy player bases and player pools of games. Right now, the game, it peaked at 264,000 on Steam, and at the time of recording this video, a 24-hour peak of 150,000. Even with the mixed review, there's a ton of people still playing it, and I think it's doing very, very well. If you're looking for something to grind mindlessly throughout the summer, I do think this could be a game for you. You can play with your friends. You can do some PvE. You don't got to worry about hackers coming in and ruining your experience, at least as far as I can see. And you have something to do. I haven't dropped a video on it, but it's going to be coming this week. I will say, if I, gun to head, if I had to choose one game over the other, whether it's the first Descendant or Once Human, both of these games are delivering two different experiences, but they have a lot of similarities. Both are coming from South Korean companies moving over to the West. Both of them have that kind of same weird, like, ooh-woo Eastern aesthetic, but Once Human is leaning more into the MMO survival game and more MMO, whereas the first Descendant is leaning more into that Warframe Destiny style experience. If I had to choose one, my pick is Once Human, and I'm going to have a video telling you guys why in the next few days. But if you're wanting to get into a game like Warframe, but that in-depth nature of the game is kind of intimidating, I don't know, maybe take a look. Or if you're looking for something just like a casual, mind-numbing grind for you and your friends, try the game out. It's completely free to play. It is Nexon. It is monetized to hell, but use some self-control and maybe don't spend a shit ton of money on it if you can help it. As always, big shout out to Nvidia for sponsoring the video. I do think that, again, the graphic style and the performance of this game is fucking awesome. There are some things I like about it. There are some things I don't. And as an early player and somebody who doesn't really touch these kind of games, I'm genuinely pretty happy with the experience so far. My name is BigfryTV. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts. I'm always curious to know what you guys think of experiences like this. While you're down there, leave a like on the video, subscribe for more content just like this, and I'll see you on the next one.